Hey guys, I'm Stephen Farnsworth,
And I'm Grant Babbitt.
and you're listening to It's a Dad Thing podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to It's a Dad podcast. This is your host, Grant Babbitt, and this is your new host this week, Brian Mesmer. He's actually our guest. Stephen is still in Detroit, you guys, and he is working his tail off doing 12-hour plus days and just completely zonked at the end of the day. So trying to give him a break, trying to give him a rest, give him a week off. And we're going to talk to Brian this week and talk about his experience as a dad. Brian, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir. I feel welcomed.
Oh, well, you should.
I'm excited to do this too.
Well, good. You are officially our first guest, so I'm really excited. And actually, I'm just excited about this too because I don't feel like you and I have just sat down and had a conversation in many, many moons, my friend.
Oh, about a little bit over a decade, sir.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it has. It's okay. Because I've been out in LA for 8 years. You went down to Oklahoma State for college, right?
I went to KU for 2 years, and then I transferred to Oklahoma State. And then I think the last time I saw you was when it was at a concert in Kansas City, and you and Ashley had just started dating.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's definitely, if we just started dating, that's 12, almost 13 years. Because it'll be 13 years.
I can't even remember the concert.
Yeah,
it was a long time ago.
I'm sure.
I think it was the Zeros. It was the 96.5 The Buzz in Kansas City. It's a radio station. Check it out. Actually, I don't even listen to it anymore. I listen to podcasts like this one.
Hey, there you go. I like it.
No, we went to, it was the Zeros. It was an 80s like prom party. And it was like random. You and I had just seen each other. Mm-hmm. And I, like I said, I want to say that you had just started dating Ashley. I'm not 100% sure about that though.
Yeah, that makes. I mean, that makes sense. If I hadn't just started dating Ashley, then I was having some other lovely guest with me. I'm sure. Don't tell her that though. Okay, just let's keep that between you and I.
No, I definitely remember it was Ashley.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. I definitely remember that too.
1,000%.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
She's been around. She's been around quite a while now, and I'm a very lucky man for that. So. She's definitely kept me in line, we'll say.
Cheers.
Yes.
For those of you who can't see, I'm drinking Bud Light.
Well, there you go. There you go. Nature's stream or nature's
Nectar
piss?
Of the gods.
Oh, is that what it is?
Okay. Of the gods.
Okay, couldn't remember. Is it Bud Light or Bud Light Lime?
Just regular Bud Light.
I know. Bud Light Lime. What are your thoughts on Bud Light Lime? And now they have Bud Light Orange. Have you tried these?
I've never tried these, and I probably won't try them.
Are you not?
I have tried the Bud Light Seltzer, though.
Oh, what do you think of that? I haven't tried that.
Not bad.
Okay.
Kind of White Claws are the original, and then you moved on to Truly, which was not as good as White Claw, and then Bud Light Seltzer I would put above Truly but below White Claws.
Okay.
Not that I'm a seltzer snob. It's more fun when you mix the seltzers, though, with vodka.
Okay, yeah. Sure. So seltzer is just the mixer at that point.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But it's an alcoholic mixer as opposed to the actual club soda that's not alcoholic.
Right. I got you. Okay. So you haven't tried – have you tried Bud Light Lime? You haven't tried Bud Light Lime. I know they have like they have Bud Light –
No.
Bud Light Orange, Bud Light like lemon zest, Bud Light they have like a lemon tea, which, by the way, I did try that one because I'm interested in just trying all the different flavors. That is terrible. It doesn't taste good.
That does not sound good, sir.
No.
Not at all.
It's not. The Bud Light Orange is not too bad, but it depends. Are you a don't fruit my beer kind of guy?
I don't mind a Boulevard Wheat with a lemon or a Corona with a lime. I prefer my coronavirus with Lyme's disease.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's go there. Let's go. What the coronavirus, right? I know this is not like, it's new.
Hot topics.
It's hot topics. These are dad hot takes now, I'd say it feels like. But coronavirus, you guys, do you have any, I know it's okay. So if anybody doesn't know, if you're listening or watching, he does have Kansas across his chest here, but Brian is talking to me from Kansas right now while I'm in Los Angeles. So we went to high school together back in the day. But out here in California, we've got plenty of, I want to say last time I read anything, it was about 18 confirmed cases of the coronavirus. I'm sure by the time this is out and you're listening to this, we're going to have a lot more cases confirmed. What about Kansas? There isn't anything confirmed in Kansas yet, right?
Not that I know of. So I don't know of anything going on in Kansas. However, for my job, I do travel quite a bit, and I've been to Minnesota, I've been to Memphis, I've been to all over the place, and I don't necessarily know that there's been a whole lot of confirmed cases to the places I've been, but the company just came out with a memo today saying travel at your own risk, travel at your own comfortability. If you're not comfortable with the coronavirus and what's going on with all of that, then don't travel. And it's like, for me, I don't necessarily care. I mean, it's out there, but I don't know. I feel like if you wash your hands quite a bit and wash them well with hot water and soap, you just kind of take some general hygiene.
Sure.
It's not something I'm necessarily worried about.
Right. Yeah. It is kind of like my family. We're trying to prepare in a way that it's not about if you'll get it, but when. Because I know that they were saying, at least I've read or heard that they think that by the time this is all said and done, that there's going to be at least 40 to 70% of the population will have it at some point. Which, it sounds awful. It's not a great thing, but much like a flu outbreak, it can spread easily, right, and go all over the place. So I think the thing that's really scary about this virus is not only they don't have an idea of how to slow it down at the moment, but also supposedly, again, I don't know how straight my facts are, but supposedly it can live on inanimate objects for up to 9 days, which that's the part that is crazy to me. Thinking somebody has money in one state, that can go a long way in 9 days, right? So it's crazy, and it's a crazy thought.
Yeah. And honestly, I've never thought about the money because most people use their debit cards, or they use, Venmo, or not. They use cashless things, I guess. Like I said, basically, it can live on surfaces, but it's not an airborne pathogen or a contagion. So for me, it goes back to washing your hands, on a regular basis, and washing them with hot water and soap, and washing them for like 20 seconds or longer. So
right. So that being said, Brian, so you travel for your work, but why don't you, I know what you do. Why don't you go ahead and just let the audience, let the viewers, let everybody listening know, what is it that you do for work, and why is it that you're traveling, and really how often are you traveling when it comes to your work?
Sure. So my job is in construction risk management. I work for a large, basically a holding company of construction companies, and 70% of their work is in life safety, which we would call the fire sprinkler systems, the fire alarm systems that you have in your buildings. We do all subcontract work, and for my job, like I said, I do the construction risk management and safety portion. So I go and consult with these companies and try to influence safe behaviors in the field on these construction sites, reducing injuries, hopefully reducing accidents. And then I do a lot of safety training, pretty much anything that has to do with safety or insurance claims, which is after something bad happens. I get the opportunity to deal with those and help the companies work through them to settlement.
Gotcha. So it's not as much like when there's an accident, you're not necessarily investigating it. You're more or less helping them remedy so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, they'll do all the investigations, and I'm trying to, probably on a higher level, not at 10,000 feet, but at 30,000 feet, I'm looking for trends in the industry within our company, and then seeing how we can deal with those as they pop up.
Okay. So that being said, you're covering pretty wide. A pretty wide span of ground, right, with your job. I mean, how big is the region when you're saying region? Like all of the Midwest?
Well, the company I used to work for was a region, and that was, Midwest and Northern Rockies. And now I've since moved on to a different job, and I'm covering different companies. Most of them, a couple of them are in the Minneapolis area, a couple of them are in Duluth, a couple of them are New York. Memphis is one, Colorado. So it's basically, going all over the country, wherever the jobs are, and doing what I can when I'm there.
Okay. All right. So that being said, talking about travel, because you're a dad, that's why you're on the Dad Podcast, right? So,
hey, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So let everybody know, how many kids do you have? How long have you been a dad? How old are your kids? And then I want to hear how that travel affects your life with your kids, because that's, something we've talked about on here before. It's something that's super important to dads. I think all dads out there, even whether you're a stay-at-home dad or whether you're working 9 to 5 or whatever it could be, that balance between work and life, and especially if you're traveling and it's traveling all over the place. I mean, that's got to be tough to make that balance work. So, how many kids do you have? What are their ages? And how do you make that kind of balance work in your life?
Sure. I have 3 kids, 3 girls. Their ages are 12, 9, and 7. And, I've been traveling since my oldest was 9 months old. And I've been traveling about every other week since then. So, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes I'm traveling longer, sometimes I'm traveling shorter. And, it may not be necessarily every other week, but since they've been babies, I have always taken some time, during the month and been gone. And so that work-life balance, it's kind of, I sent you notes earlier today. One of the big quotes that I've heard was, "Be where your feet are."
Yeah, which, by the way, I love that quote. I love that. Sorry, yeah, you told me that earlier today, and we were just in conversation talking about that, and I hadn't heard that before. So, yeah, explain what you mean when you say "be where your feet are."
Well, it's check in mentally where your feet are actually at. And so if I'm at home, then I'm at home and I'm with my kids and I'm doing what they want to do. I'm down on the ground and playing with them. I'm outside with them, trying to teach them how to do new things, like, ride a bike without training wheels. My 7-year-old is getting to that point where she wants to get her training wheels off, and my 12-year-old is riding up and down the trail just as fast as she can go, standing up on her bike. And that's a big accomplishment for her. And it's this is great. But then, also be where your feet are is if I'm at work, I'm invested at work. Mentally I'm checked in. I'm not, checking my phone or anything like that to see what's going on with what's going on at the house or anything like that. But unless I need to,
right.
Just like you said, I mean, when you work long hours or on a project, you check in periodically.
Yeah, as much as you can. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I recently went through a divorce, so I don't check in when I'm out of town anymore a whole lot, unless there's something going on that evening, like a kid's musical or they have, usually if they have a game or anything like that, I'm or a performance for their dance, I'm there at it. And what's good about my job is I'm able to schedule myself to be at home for things like that.
Right. Yeah, I totally understand that. I've talked about it on here, but me being a freelancer, I struggle with that particular thing that you're talking about is putting your feet where you are, right? And I probably just messed up your saying, but
that's fine.
Yeah, say it again so I can make sure I have it straight, because I do love it and I need to start using it. But it's be where your feet are, right?
Yep.
Be where your feet are.
Exactly.
I struggle with being where my feet are, because as a freelancer, I'm at home and I have to check emails and texts and I don't get to be too far away from the phone, because as soon as I put it down, then I miss a job. And that is the thing that like is super hard for me. So I love the thought of being where your feet are. I mean, going to work, it's the funniest thing is I don't know if it's just my industry. I feel like it's most people, but in my industry, being someone that works freelance, I spend all my time not at work trying to get work. And then as soon as I get home, I spend all my time at work trying to get home. And like,
Yep.
that's, so I love that expression. I don't feel like I've lived by it so far.
Well, and I don't think, Grant, I think you're beautiful and your beard is beautiful, but I don't think you're unique in that aspect. I think most people, when they're at work, they want to be at home. And when they're at home, sometimes they would rather be at work, or they can't get work off their head, or they can't stop thinking about work.
Sure. Yeah.
And so for me, if I have an idea about work while I'm at home, I won't ignore that idea, but I will, either write it down in the notes section of my phone or write it down on a piece of paper, and I'll go back to what I was doing with my kids.
Right.
If I have them at that moment. But yeah, it's, I feel like this is part 2 of the work-life balance. But
it's never ending. We could talk about it in every episode.
Really isn't.
It'll never get old.
I was talking to somebody, and they were like, there's no work-life balance. It's just life.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out where you're at. And so that kind of be where your feet are kind of grounds you in where you're actually at. And it for me, it checks me in mentally and says, hey, right now your kids are here with you.
Right.
So enjoy that time, do something with them, and don't let them just sit there in front of the TV watching SpongeBob or whatever else they're watching at the moment. Right, my kids are really big into like the Netflix cooking shows.
Oh my gosh. My kids love it. The two that are really into it is my daughter loves the cooking shows. I mean, to the point where she used to say, I want to be a firefighter, and now has since switched on to like, I want to be a chef. So she loves watching those. And I will tell you, I love sitting down and watching the wheels turn. Like when she sits down, she's watching them bake a cake or whatever. I can see her going like, okay, all right. Yeah, I want to do that. Okay. How do I do that? And now the thing that I'm really excited about is she doesn't just watch those and veg out. She watches them and then goes in and tries to help mom with dinner, or it's like, Dad, could I help you with lunch? And it's like, you can see the motivation there, which is awesome. And I love that.
Well, so at my house, they've been watching these cooking shows so much that they want to start cooking, but they don't know how to use like a really, really sharp knife, which I keep at the house.
Yeah.
So what we've done is I actually we just did our weekly grocery run, and I asked them what they want to have for dinners each night. And so they'll tell me, but then the dinners that they choose, they have to help me make.
Right.
So like my oldest daughter, her name is Lily, and she chose one night she wanted to do chili because she liked Lily's chili.
Yeah.
And so I was helping her.
Rhymes perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, perfect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, the only thing I really did was cut up the onions and help her brown the beef. But otherwise, everything else, she put everything in and she stirred it and she made sure it was tasting good. And then, at the end of the day, everybody gets to eat it.
Nice. And what do you think? Was it kid approved? Was it dad approved? How was it?
Well, it's Dad's recipe, so the girls love it anyways.
Oh, perfect. So you had a little guiding hand in it, so that's good.
Oh yeah.
Good.
But yeah, there's another night where my middle child, Charlie, she wanted breakfast for dinner. And so, we made the bacon together. She was the one. I don't know how you make your bacon, but I bake my bacon in the oven.
Yep.
And so she laid all the strips out and she baked it. And then she was asking me how do we make scrambled eggs. And so she was really the one. I showed her how to do it, but she was really the one that actually did it. And then my youngest daughter, she wanted cake for dinner, which I thought was great, but we didn't do cake for dinner. We did cake for breakfast.
Well, cake for breakfast sounds honestly even better. because cake for dinner, that's good, but cake for breakfast, that's like plus 10. Like that is scoring points right there. That is impressive.
It's like donuts on crack. It's awesome.
Exactly. That's good. And by the way, I am not a bake bacon kind of guy. I'm a fry bacon. I like stovetop fry the bacon, get all the grease. I like all the gross stuff. You can tell by the shape of my body. But my wife likes to
I totally have a dad bod.
Oh yeah. Oh, I have like a Dad Bod Plus, I think is the new model, right? It's where it's like Dad Bod and then there's extra handles and compartments and stuff. No, my wife likes to cook the bacon in the grease so she can have the bacon fat to cook with later. And then I think a lot of times she likes to stick it in the oven and bake it so that it's extra crispy. She loves the crispy bacon. I don't care if it's crispy or not. If she's cooking for me, I'll eat it, and I love that. But yeah, I'm normally a stovetop bacon fryer. I mean, that's what to take away from this conversation. That's really the important thing. That's what I do.
We all have our faults.
No,
okay, all right. The only reason I got into baking the bacon is I got sick and tired of having the grease all over my stovetop, and so I just put foil down on a pan, put the bacon in the oven, forget about it for 20 minutes or 15 minutes, however long I cook it. I check on it regularly. You can tell.
Well, I would hope so, since you basically check safety everywhere else. I would hope at your home you're also checking and making sure it's safe, right? No?
Yeah, I mean, you get it.
Yeah. I mean, you have kids that are older. So like I'm picturing at your house, like much like at my house, you have something in the oven or on the stove and you have to be like, get out, because little hands just want to reach up and touch the hot stuff all the time. So this is what I picture. Concept. Yeah. I forget you have older girls.
What's nice about having older kids is they've kind of heard that for years and years. Like when dad opens the oven or when mom opens the oven, everybody's out of the kitchen. Yeah. But now they're like, we just stand back and we let dad do his thing until he's ready for us to get back in there. But we do bring safety home. We try to bring safety home from the job site. You know, if they're going to play with hammers and nails, I'm not putting them in a hard hat, but you know, if they're going to ride their bikes, they're definitely wearing their helmets. Yeah. And my oldest is pushing back on me for that one.
As they do.
It's not cool.
Yeah. Oh, well.
It's not cool.
No, trust me, helmets are not cool unless they're young enough that you can get the cool, stylish helmets and they still are super impressed with it.
Yeah, you know, the younger two so I let them pick out their helmets. And the younger two, they bought helmets that they had markers and they could draw on, and then we could wipe them off with a Clorox wipe, and then they could redraw on them, whatever they want to draw. And it had stencils and all that stuff. The oldest one, at the time, she was like, I'm getting a little old, you know, big girl bike. I'm getting a mountain bike. So I should get a big girl helmet. But now she doesn't like her helmet. It's not cool. And she doesn't see. So like, there's kind of those non-negotiables. Like, obviously your kids are in booster seats, and that's not a negotiable thing for you. Right. You know, and when you walk in or when you get into the car, we always put on our seatbelts now. That's not, that's a non-negotiable. And so for this one, for me, as a safety guy and trying to explain to her, it's like, that's how I explained it to her was, it's like wearing a seatbelt. It's not negotiable with your mom and dad. You're going to wear a helmet, whether you like it or not. And it's not going to be cool. You're not going to be fashionable, and it's going to mess up your hair, but oh well. Because if you fall down and bonk your head, you'll be safe.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
In theory.
And you know, we have that same rule with our kids, of course. And the one time that my son really put up a fight, and then he was like, okay, Dad, fine, I'll put on a helmet. The next thing he did is literally crash and burn, and that helmet dented in because it hit the ground so hard. And moments like that when I think, okay, maybe I'm being too overcautious, right? Maybe I'm hovering and I'm being too paranoid about their safety. Then I'm like, no, you're good. You're good. There's a reason why that was happening, and there's a reason why you put up the fight to get that helmet on his head. So. Oh yeah. So do you think that? Do you think that focusing on safety at work, do you think when you bring that home, do you feel like you're overprotective at all? Or do you feel like you have a good boundary that you've basically worked with them over the years?
No, I feel like I have a good boundary. You know, there's not a whole lot of construction safety that goes into raising kids, I guess is where I'm at. You know, they do things. So their maternal grandfather has a ranch, and they go out there and they, you know, they'll ride dirt bikes or four-wheelers, but you know, he has the same mentality I do. You're going to wear a helmet, you're going to wear a chest pad brace on that stuff. He has horses and they ride them. Again, he's wearing helmet. They're wearing helmets and chest pads and all that stuff. My kids have operated tools, which is great as a father. It makes you feel really good, like power tools. But, you know, I'm not like down their throat about wearing their personal protective equipment on that, I guess. One thing that I do really, I'm trying to model, I guess, is the term is, you know, we all use our cell phones while we drive, and I've had a bad habit of it for years and years. And so one of the things that I try to do now, and it's actually been driven by my company, is we're not using cell phones while we drive. And so I'm trying to model that behavior so my kids see it. So when my 12-year-old becomes 14 and gets her permit and has her own phone, that she understands that, you know, when that phone dings or that phone buzzes or anything like that, we're not looking at it. You can wait till you get there.
Yeah, that's an important lesson. And I think there's a lot more of the population that struggles with that. And I say struggles, let me say it more of like, don't really care, because it won't affect them when they do it. Right. I feel like that's a lot of I think that happens a lot. Like, I think there's a lot more people that are texting and driving and doing all this stuff because they think, well, that won't happen to me, but you know, this a-hole over here shouldn't be doing this. Right. And I'm going to call them out. But like when I do it, it's cool. I'm going to stoplight. Right. I mean, I think that happens a lot more common than people really think.
Oh no, there's actually studies out there. So I taught a class for the National Safety Council for a long time. It was about distracted driving or defensive driving. And one of the statistics that's out there, and not to go preachy on this, I apologize. I am an ordained minister through the Universal Life Church, so I can preach, but I won't preach too much on this. So there's a statistic out there that says 90% of us agree that, or 90% of us use our cell phones while we drive. But 70% of us, when we see other people do it, we get angry by it.
Yes.
Not peeved, not upset, angry.
Yeah.
We get angry by it. So I can do it, but you can't do it because I'm a better driver when I'm distracted than you are.
Right. Yeah. I understand that concept. My wife and I deal with that when we are trying to pick up the house. It's similar but different, right? But it's the whole idea that I have my stuff around the house, right? My stuff is all around the house, my gear or whatever else. But to her, my shit is all around the house, right? And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
When her stuff is around, I say, hey, your shit's all over the place, right? Because it's my stuff, but it's your shit. When you're texting and driving, I know what I'm doing, right? I'm not going to cause a problem. But this hassle,
clearly,
they don't know what they're doing. They shouldn't be doing this. And again, I love that you gave those stats because that's clearly apparent. I mean, I've seen people, and you know, in LA, right? In LA, it's hands free, so it's supposed to be hands free driving. So you can be on the phone, but everything is supposed to be Bluetooth, or you know, you can do your speakerphone or whatever through the car. So you see people that look like they're, you know, singing or being crazy or talking to themselves that are generally on the phone. But you're still seeing people not only putting the phones up to their ears, but also texting. And, you know, it's one of those things that it's so weird for me because I'm out here and I try to abide by the no hands. Like I still make phone calls, especially when I'm heading home from work. But a lot of times I end up sitting in the parking lot and waiting. Like I'll talk there. And then when I'm done, then I'll get off the phone and go home. But one thing that I've done here is that I get off the phone and then I'll fly back to Kansas, visit family, be hanging out there. And all of a sudden I realize, oh, I can put my phone to my ear and I feel like I'm breaking the law. Like I'm like, part of me is excited and part of me is like, oh, why are you doing this? Like, this is not okay here. And I'm waiting to get busted.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Well, and so another exercise I do in this class is we talk about hands-free is not risk-free. And
Right.
this is me being a preacher and talking about distracted driving or defensive driving. And so I have the class do an activity, and I pull out my phone, I pull out the stopwatch, and I say, all right, count to 10 as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And typically they get that within 1.5 seconds. And I say, okay, count or do your ABCs up to J as fast as you can. And they get that typically less than their 1 to 10 because they're trying to beat their scores.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, do your A1s, your B2s, your C3s, your D4s, your E5s, all the way up to J10. I've given you 6, go. And then it takes them like 25 seconds. And so the purpose of that exercise is to say, hey, your brain can't do 2 things at the same time, like talk on your cell phone and drive at the same time. So let's put our phones down and focus on the road. It was funny when I first started teaching that class, I taught my kids to recognize distracted driving, which is not just using cell phones. It's, eating, drinking, smoking, anything that takes your eyes off the wheel or off the task of driving. Well, I taught them what it was. And we were driving in Overland Park, Kansas, as you know where we're at.
Yep.
And within a 14-mile trip, they saw 117 distracted drivers.
That is crazy. I mean, good on you for pointing that out. And that, oh man, I'm partially not surprised, but the other part, like that's nuts. I feel like I used to, my parents were in Kansas City, and then I would be living in KU or in Lawrence in KU, which is, for those of you who don't know, right, who are outside of Kansas, that's about a 20-30 minute drive, depending on how fast you want to drive. But one of the things that would happen is I'd be driving at night and I'd be looking for cars that look like they're swerving. And of course I'm thinking, well, they're drunk, right? They're drunk driving.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking for. And the crazy thing now is that I see more swerving just during the day because people are texting or whatever they're doing on the phone. And like, that is, and not that drunk driving is not a thing to still be worried about when you're on the road, but it's just like it's evolved to this, like, nobody is paying attention when they're driving. Like, it literally doesn't feel like anybody's really looking. It's nuts.
No, it feels like nobody is. And, like I said, the statistics out there, 90% of us agree that we use our cell phones while we drive. So it's just a behavior. So for me and my girls, I try to model the behavior that I want them to do and not use their cell phone while they drive when they get a cell phone. I don't know about you and how you raise your kids, but my 12-year-old still doesn't have a cell phone. And I've seen kids out there that do, they're 9, 10 years old and they have a cell phone and they're just addicted to screens anymore. And I don't know.
There's kids in my son's, there's kids in my son's first grade class that have a phone. And so my son, as a first grader, has come and said, Dad, when do I get my phone? I'm like, well, maybe when you can get a job and pay for it. I mean, I only had a phone, and I know you remember this because we're the same age, but do you remember like the giant brick phones? Like, not quite the Zach Morris, but it was like the next iteration where it was still a giant phone, but it was.
Oh yeah. It was the Nokia.
Yeah, the Nokia. Yeah. So my parents used to have the family cell phone.
Playing Snake on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking like even a generation before that. For me, it was like, I think it was some kind of Motorola. Well, I guess Motorola is the same Nokia, but it was just like just the numbers, right? There was no screen to it other than like you see what the numbers are. It was when you still had the pagers. So you had a pager and you had your like one cell phone you could call. And I remember my parents giving me a cell phone, when it was like, okay, you're going on this thing overnight or you're doing this thing and here's the cell phone for this and only call us in case of emergencies. And that was awesome. But at the same time, like, I'm so glad I didn't have, the internet or something in that age. Cause again, totally different time that we're living in now compared to when we were. And I know we sound like old men when we say that, but it just is completely different.
My daughter just asked me the other day if she could get on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm sitting there going, her friends are on TikTok and she wants to get on TikTok with them. And I said, she's trying to express, her individualism. She's getting into that teenager where she's going to start, kind of pushing away from mom and dad and pushing away from the family and starting to do our own thing with our own friends as we did. But this social media has me scared shitless.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I don't know. I just recently heard of TikTok through another podcast, and what I see on TikTok scares the living crap out of me.
I know.
There's a lot of people out there.
Yeah, and what's crazy? It's like with most other things, it's just like when YouTube started, when Facebook started, when all these different things started, they started, and there is like a really great there's a really great thing that these things are made for, right? To be able to showcase work and artists, and like to be able to express yourself, and it's awesome. And TikTok, I think, used to be what was it? I want to say Shopify, but that's not right. Songify. I believe it's Songify, but it used to be a different app, which was essentially, it was either just for music or it was like the one that auto-tuned you. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was an app before, turned into TikTok. I'm still very like geriatric when it comes to TikTok. I don't know what it is, but I know that there are now more people on TikTok than there are on almost any social platform. Like, it's grown immensely, and it almost seems like, do you remember Vine? Like, Vine had the 6-second videos.
Yeah, I remember Vine. I never got into Vine,
Okay.
to be honest with you.
I loved Vine because for me, and especially, I think when I got on Vine, it was right as either I was becoming a dad or right I had just become a dad. And I could finally like share my 6 seconds worth of dad jokes on Vine and, be silly for 6 seconds or whatever it was. And 6 seconds was just enough time that I could do something funny and then be out before I was a total idiot. Right. And if it was 6 seconds and it didn't work, you only wasted 6 seconds. Right. So TikTok, as far as I know, is similar in the fact that it feels like it's got the same vibe. It's a lot of these short, quick videos. I'm probably like totally in the dark as far as like what it's actually for. But it seems like it's probably for good, right? You can express. There's all these cool things you could do with it. It seems like it's super fun for kids. However, the thing that I keep hearing about for TikTok are these challenges, and that's the stuff that like, I don't know what to do with them, because there was I don't remember what it's called, but everybody knows about like the Tide Pod challenges and all that crap that happened not too long ago, right? But there's also and there's also great challenges like the ALS, the ice bucket challenge. That has nothing to do with TikTok, but that was a challenge that was like for good. I know there's been TikTok dance challenges, which are totally harmless, and there's everything from like mom and dad to kids to like police stations to city, like everybody gets involved in these things. And
have you seen the coronavirus dance that they did in I think it was Vietnam? Just to take you off subject a little bit.
No,
I saw it on
last week tonight. Yes, I watched that. That song is so catchy. And I will say, I love me some John Oliver. That was quite entertaining. Him doing the dance at the desk. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. It sounds like a very catchy song. I wish I wish it was English so I could sing along, but that's just me being an American. That's like, I wish it was English. But yeah, it's super catchy. It's fun. It definitely, hopefully can help remind people to wash their hands. But if anything, it's entertaining.
I think we're going to have to watch it at some point and do a TikTok to it now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You and I? Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the coronavirus TikTok challenge. Perfect.
While holding Coronas, is that how that works? Yeah, that's well, so what I was hearing about these challenges, the new one is the new scary thing to me, which again, I keep saying, I feel like I'm this old, outdated, scared of everything dad, but it's just like, this is what's around now. And my kids are growing up in this age. So it's like, I didn't have to worry about this when I was this age. I didn't have anything to worry about. But now there's this thing called the brain smash, or shoot. The head, dang it, I forgot it. It was like head smash or something, but basically the idea is that there are 3 people that stand while they're taking the video. The 2 people jump on the outside, okay? And then they convince the person to, after they jump in the middle. And what happens is when they jump in the middle, they swipe their feet. Or the skull crusher or something insanely like violent sounding, but it's like the skull break or skull crush challenge or something crazy like that. And it's like you can really get hurt from something like that. And so hearing that makes me just think, as a dad, I feel like, would my kids be susceptible to that, or would they be the ones doing it? Because there's one or the other.
Do you remember when Jackass came out and when we were in high school?
Of course.
Middle school?
Yes.
When you first saw Jackass, the show, what did you immediately want to go out and do?
I wanted to go run.
Especially with Mrs. Gill or Miss Gill's radio and TV equipment.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the classic thing for me was always like running into a wall, or like the shopping cart always comes to mind, is like going out, getting a shopping cart and pushing somebody over or something. Right. Yes. This was our TikTok then, I guess, is what you're saying, right?
That was our TikTok, but on a much grander scale and hitting kids at a younger age.
Yeah, that's true. But to be fair,
doesn't give you hope for the future. To be fair,
though, I mean, how often were we able to sneak off and see that on a TV? Because it's not like we had clips we could readily find. We had to wait till it was on at a certain time, right? TikTok is
exactly. No, TikTok. That's why TikTok is scarier to me, is that they are readily available, and there's an algorithm that feeds you. That is just like your YouTube videos. There's an algorithm, and hey, you like this video? You might like this one. Check this one out. And that's another thing that I worry about with my kids, and I've had to have conversations. So now my daughter, she's in 6th grade, and in 6th grade, she gets a Chromebook that she is responsible for. And I love the fact that they're teaching her responsibility with, technology. And this is an expensive piece of equipment, and you need to take care of it. And it is your responsibility to make sure that you don't lose it. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That's great. The problem I have is there's been more than one occasion where so they give me an app it's called Securely.
Mm-hmm.
And I have access to see what she's looking at.
Okay.
At what time.
That's through the school?
Time, date stamped. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they sent me the app, I downloaded it, and I check it on a regular basis. What's interesting, though, is what bothers me, though, is they block, obviously the bad sites, the porn sites. They block, Facebook. They block most social media sites. What they don't block is YouTube. And what I've caught my daughter doing is, there was one day she stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning watching YouTube videos all night long, 5-minute clips. If you like this one, you like that one. And then she woke up at 10. She's like, I slept in late. And I'm like, you were up till 5. You're probably really tired.
Yeah. You know what? She's not the only one that's guilty of that. I've done it too, because you watch those videos and then you go, I've probably got 10 more minutes in me, right? I've got 5 more minutes in me. I'll watch this one. And there's always something to hook you. So I totally get it. And as a kid that age, it's, I mean, you're easily susceptible to any of that stuff. So it's not.
And we're all guilty of binge watching Netflix or anything like that. There's no different. She's just doing it in 5-minute increments.
Right. Exactly.
So,
it's essentially the Quibies. You know about Quibies? Have you heard about this?
I've never heard of Quibies. I'm an old man.
No, well, clearly we've established we're both old and out of touch with all of the cool social media stuff. But Quibies is it's like a new platform, right? There's Netflix, there's Disney, there's all the new stuff, all the different streaming services. But Quibies, I feel like this is a commercial. I really hope they'll sponsor us for this. Quibies stands for Quick Bites. It's essentially another platform, one of those platforms that you can do series or movies or whatever, and they only release 10 minutes at a time. So you could watch a whole series of shows, but they're only 10-minute episodes. Steven Spielberg, for instance, is doing a feature. I don't know if it's out yet or not. I'm not totally up to date with Quibies, but he is either doing a feature or has done a feature that is a feature film, but it's only released in 10-minute increments. So it's like a new way of filmmaker, a new way of telling a story in a fashion where you can binge it, right, over an hour, hour and a half, like you're watching a normal movie, or you can literally watch 10 minutes and be like, cool, I can walk away. I'll hit the other 10 in a little bit. And so it's kind of fascinating, but it's without YouTube and social media and TikTok and Facebook and like all these little short videos that we've become accustomed to. I don't know that something like that would have survived before a time like now.
this is all just blowing my mind because I don't know how I feel about it. Part of me is angry, not
Wow.
angry, but upset.
Sure.
Like, I like my movies and I like my 20-minute shows, but another part of me is like, oh, that sounds like a great way to consume content.
Sure. Yeah. But that's the
But
whole thing. There's so many choices out now. It's like the idea of like FOMO is real when it comes to trying to catch up with any of these things. You know, you're missing out on all these different series that everybody's watching. You're missing out on all these different movies. Like for me, I'm a sports guy, right? So I don't watch as many movies because, oh, well, there's live sports on. I got to watch that, right? Because I'm not going to watch that
oh yeah,
record. Maybe I'll catch the highlights later, but generally, if I have 3-4 hours to sit down and watch a football game, I'm going to use it doing that instead of watching like a couple movies or shows or whatever else, right? And that's my TV time. So if I use it watching sports, I'm not watching a movie later, right? So anyway,
very
yes,
true.
it's all different.
One of the things, this is more of a personal thing for me. When I was married, we had a TV in the TV in the bedroom, and I would stay up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning just watching TV, or we'd binge watch a series like Game of Thrones or something like that. We would go late.
Yeah.
And since I moved into my new place and I have my own house, I haven't put a TV in my bedroom. So like I'll fall asleep on the couch or something like that, and then I'm like, ooh, wake up. Now it's time for bed, and I just go upstairs and lights are out and I'm in bed. I don't even look at my phone. I just plug it in downstairs.
I'm impressed by that because my wife and I, she's wired much more like that. When we first started dating, it was like, okay, if I had the TV on for a little bit because, it's new, it's fresh, everything's cute then. And, I've always been a person that like my thoughts go at night and they go. And for me, it's always been one of those things where like, if I turn on a show, I can turn on a show and my brain can kind of shut off for a little bit. And if it shuts off, then eventually I'll wind down and I'll go to sleep. My wife, if the TV's on, she can't. She needs to like have quiet and have that darkness, and then she can go to sleep. So I don't know if you know this, but she won. So we have a TV in our room. I got to put it up there, but for the most part, it is trying to go to sleep in the dark. Now, I would say it's almost changed now though, because as of the last, I don't know, maybe year or a few months, I introduced her to the British baking show. And so that
Oh,
became
very nice.
that became her nighttime routine is she'd sit and watch the British baking show, because before that she would go out on the couch and she'd watch Food Network, and that was like everything for me was Food Network all the time, right? And
Oh
to
yeah.
the point where I couldn't watch Food Network anymore. And then when she picked up British Baking Show, that was like her food show that she wanted to watch, and she would watch it in bed. So I would find myself going in there and trying to share a moment with her and like watch a show with her and like, oh, cool, we get to kind of like, snuggle and watch a show. And because that's the thing that shuts my brain off, next thing you know, I'm out. And if I like, I'm
Yep.
asleep. So any work or anything I thought I was going to do at night, I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock because we had on the baking show. But anyway.
Lucky. I wish I could go to bed at 8 o'clock.
Oh no, it's
No,
it's
I
every
actually,
other time. Yeah.
yeah. No, we still have. That's another thing that I think the kid's mom has done a very good job of, and I abide by it. We do the 8 o'clock bedtime,
Mm-hmm.
even for the 12-year-old. She tries to push it, and sometimes we don't make it. But I don't know. For me, being a dad is, I don't know. If you follow me on my thought process here, for a long time there, I felt like I had to enforce every single rule, and it was black or white, and there was
Mm-hmm.
nothing that we could do that was wrong. And if we did something wrong, it was a big deal. And since we separated, I've actually been in therapy, but since we've done all of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things that just don't matter as much as they did when I was actually married and in that house with her.
Sure.
And so anymore, like my kids will openly disobey or do something wrong. It's like, don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's my thought process anymore. Is I can't change what happened. The only thing we can do is get better as we move forward. So I'll tell them like, hey, that was not cool what you just did. Let's try and be cool in the future.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know. It's just different.
Do you think it's bettered your relationship with the girls? Do you think it's well that, and also do you think it's brought your stress level down of parenting?
Stress level down on parenting, yes. So like there's things, I told like that night that I caught my daughter, she was up till 5 o'clock in the morning. She woke up at 10. She was like, I slept in late. And like, she was really proud of herself and trying to sell the fact that she wasn't up late.
Sure.
Before when I was married, it would be a really big problem and there'd be a big consequence. I'm taking away your Chromebook. You're never going to get it again. You're grounded for a week. You're not going out, blah, blah, blah. And she came down and I said, you were up till 5. In that tone of voice.
Mm-hmm.
You were up till 5 o'clock in the morning. She was like, I wasn't. I said, Lily, I looked at your activity feed. Your Chromebook is in your room. You were up till 5 o'clock in the morning. There's no argument here.
Yeah.
And then she continued to argue a little bit and I just opened up my phone. I didn't even say 2 words. I just opened my phone. I said, did you watch this video? She's, yeah. Like that was at 4:45 in the morning. You were up till 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So one thing that, and this is an aside to this conversation, but my therapist said something about the kids need to feel safe, and they always need to be able to tell you things. And for a long time, I felt like they weren't feeling safe. They didn't feel like they could tell me things because I feared they were worried that they were going to get in trouble. And so what we've done, I told them that we need to come up with like a code word or a code phrase. And when they invoke that phrase, they have protection. And I still have the right to react, but I won't be mad at them because they'll be telling me the truth. It's kind of like how I know they're telling me the truth is if they invoke this, and so they'll never be in trouble for telling me the truth. So the kids came up with their own phrase, and it's called stinky butt protection. And my youngest, she calls it stinky pug protection because they don't want me being a stinky butt. Yeah. And my youngest, we have a pug. Her name is Princess Buttercup. You're welcome. I named her.
Yes. Good. I love it.
So she calls it stinky pug protection. The other kids call it stinky butt protection. So back to our story of 5 o'clock in the morning YouTube videos. After I showed her that, she said, stinky butt protection. I said, invoked? And she said, yeah, I was up till 5. I said, yeah, I know. It's okay. Guess what? Your punishment is you're tired today, but you'll also be taking a nap.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And I said, and you won't be using your Chromebook, and it'll be plugged in from now on in the kitchen. That's it. And we move forward, There's I think there's a quote out there. I think it's Albert Einstein. Life is like riding a bicycle. The only way you keep your balance is if you keep moving forward.
No, I love that because I will tell you that's not the experience at our house. Like I think we're still in that stage too, where I don't know if it's just because they're younger or we're still trying to figure it out. But the idea of, hey, you messed up and let's do better next time. I feel like there are moments that I've dealt with it like that, but overall it feels like most of it is like, okay, well, now screen is gone for a week, right? And it's like these punishments that the kid freaks out about, feels unfair. And what you're talking about, like having that safe space for your kids to come talk to you, like that is honestly in my top like 3 dad worry things that I worry about, because now they're little, right? Now they're little, but you have a 12-year-old that she's beginning adolescence, and adolescence is a whole new journey, right? You and I went through it. We went through that time, and that's a tough time. And so for me, when I think about that time and I think about, I can't have my 13-year-old, 14, 15-year-old kids sit down and then go, hey, you know what? now is the time when I'm going to tell you this is safe, or you can tell me anything. Because at that point, I feel like if I haven't planted those seeds beforehand, then why would he start at that age, right? Or why would she start at that age? So
Yeah.
again, another thing that you're saying that I love, that I think I'm going to have to come home and use, because these are the seeds that I need to plant now. So by the time they're in those ages, and it's really critical that they really feel safe and can talk to you, that they really understand that, like, yes, I love you, and I'm here for you, and I can say that, but do you really hear that? And they won't, because
Oh
adolescence
yeah.
doesn't allow that. You have to show them through your actions. And I think that's what you're saying is vitally important to success in that area of life. That is a great approach in my opinion. And I, again, haven't thought about it that way. And I love hearing you say that.
Well, another thing is, what does, and I've had to come to terms with this, and I think I have, but it's still a work in progress. I'm still a work in progress.
As we all are.
And my therapist pointed this out. She said, what does getting big and yelling actually accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make you feel good? No. Does it make her feel good? No. And that really kind of struck me right between the eyes, because when I was growing up, my dad would yell at me.
Mm-hmm.
He'd throw himself around. He'd get angry. And that was the way he expressed himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I learned. It didn't happen often, but it happened enough to where, when my kids got angry or upset, not only did I feel like I had to do that to make it a big deal, because you're going to follow the rules, whether you like it or not. These are the rules of the house. But, as they get older, yeah, they need to feel safe. It was just like a couple of days ago, I keep talking about my oldest like she's a problem child. She's really not. She's actually a very sweet girl. In fact, my neighbor who just had twins, she was like, can Lily just come over all the time and just hang out with my two older kids? She has 4 kids under 2.5 years old. Right. My neighbor does. And she was like, can Lily just be there just to hang out with the 2 older ones while I deal with the twins? I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Well, it's the oldest child. I know you have an older brother, so you were middle, but I'm oldest. I understand, like, when you're the oldest, it's like this kind of extra pressure put on you, because you should know better, right? Your whole life.
Well, you're the trial.
Yeah, exactly. You're the trial child, right? Parents don't know better.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Exactly. Yeah, you realize that when you're a parent, right? That your parents didn't know what they were doing, and they're just trying to make it work too. So yeah, that's interesting. So the one thing I was gonna, you mentioned that you were going through divorce, and I don't want to get into all the messy details of it, but the thing that I'm interested in, because of course, myself and then Steven, my co-host, like we haven't been through divorce before, so we don't know what that's like. Now, don't be wrong, we've had lots of fights, right? My wife and I have lots of fights. We've had lots of different disagreements. I know that that's natural, but as far as when it comes to, divorce and separation, that's not something I've been through before. So from a parenting side of it, do you feel like, and again, I'm not as familiar with like the idea of co-parenting. I know what it is, but I know there's co-parenting, and then there's probably like, divorce where we have 2 completely individual households that are treated differently. So maybe at one house, this is what the girls experience, and the other house, this is what the girls experience. And it's kind of like 2 different realities, as opposed to, I've always thought of that co-parenting idea as, we're going to try to, even though we may be separated, we're going to try to kind of keep it even keel, right, across that whole thing. So what's been your experience in that area, as far as like, and I know you said your divorce is new, but through separation, divorce,
yeah,
like, how is that kind of shaped in your life?
So the divorce is new in the fact that it was finalized about a week ago, so it's very fresh. And I'm still trying to figure out what that co-parenting looks like. We have been separated over 16 months, and co-parenting throughout that time, it's been difficult, but at the same token, nothing really has changed. The kids, what has been, I think, the saving grace is the kids are still involved in all of their activities that they were involved in before. So all 3 of my girls do dance. My middle child does soccer. My oldest child does guitar. She does vocal lessons. And then my youngest child, she does, she'll start doing a musical instrument here probably in second grade. She's in first grade right now. But she also just started doing swimming. She did soccer. She hated it. She just hung onto the coach on the field. She just hung onto his hand and wouldn't run. So she just started doing swimming recently. And I think that, the stability of their schedule, they know, Monday nights is dance, Tuesday nights guitar, Wednesday night is soccer. We're doing something every single day. And it seems like a lot, but like guitar is 30 minutes.
Right.
So it's really not that much, but I think the consistency of that schedule, plus the fact that, while mom and dad might not get along anymore, we still enforce the same rules. And if you're going to try and play the two of us against each other, your mom's just a phone call away or dad's just a phone call away.
Right.
And we will support each other in raising our children. The idea of co-parenting is, like I said, how you explained it, that's ideal. I feel like right now, though, the way and I are, well, she probably shouldn't have said her name, but anyways, the way she and I are, we don't necessarily get along, and so it probably feels like to the kids two separate worlds.
Sure.
Even though we're 10 minutes apart.
Yeah. Well, and I hear lots of stories about couples that have been together for years and years and years, and maybe they just grew apart and they don't have any animosity together, so they can still do this co-parenting thing, no problem. They just don't necessarily get along. Now, I don't know that situation works for the majority of people that go through divorces, because again, I haven't been through divorce, but I've been through lots of breakups in the past, and it was always, there's always some animosity at some point. You have to go through some healing and some, there's hurt that's involved in that. So you are saying at one point that you are a person that I may have loved and now I don't anymore. And that could be very painful for both sides. I don't have to tell you that. You've been living it, and like a lot of people do. But the idea of being able to come together at some point when you begin the healing process, and the idea of co-parenting, it sounds like so far, just the idea of you guys having the same set of rules in both houses is creating some stability within that situation. So I don't know if it's something you guys can hopefully work towards at some point, because you're saying it's ideal. But hopefully time heals all wounds. I'm sure if you're putting in the effort to push through that, right?
Ideally. Time heals all wounds, hopefully. And hopefully the fact of the matter is, and when we go through divorce, or when I went through divorce, the first thing that they do is they say you have to go to this co-parenting class if you have kids, regardless. The state says you shall go through this class. Okay. And in the class, they actually sit there and they say, look, you guys may not like each other. You may hate each other. You may despise the other person. The other person may have wronged you in some way that you're not capable of recovering from. That happens. But guess what? You still have kids.
Yeah.
And no longer is that other person the most important thing in your world, but your kids are always going to be there. And your kids are half that person, whether you like it or not. DNA, genetic makeup, they are half that other person. And even in their personality, they're going to start taking on some of the traits of your ex-spouse that you probably don't like.
Sure.
But they're going to take on those traits, and they're still your kids, and they're the most important thing throughout the entire divorce. So you need to stop making decisions based out of spite or out of hate or out of your despise for your ex, and start making decisions based on the best interest of your children. And so that's kind of what I've been trying to do, and hopefully I can't speak for my ex, but sometimes I feel like she does make those decisions based on what's quote unquote the best interest of the kids. And sometimes I feel like she makes decisions or says things based on how she feels in the moment.
Sure. Which, we're all human, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, my worry is, if she is, I'm reading a book right now. They use the word denigrate, which is basically say derogatory terms about your ex in front of your kids.
Yeah.
And I worry that she does that about me in front of the kids, or not only about me, but about, my mom, my dad, my family, my brother, my sister. I worry she says things out loud because she just doesn't have a filter and can't hold it in front of my kids.
Yeah, I understand that.
And, if she does that, I have no control. And that's another part of, the whole therapy process is control your controllables. But if you don't have control, you can't exercise any control about that.
Right.
The only thing you can do is just, talk to your kids about it. And that's where we have that safe space where, I've even invoked stinky butt protection with my kids. Before we went to trial for the divorce, I called them into the room. It was, kind of a late night, and I invoked stinky butt protection. They didn't have school the next morning, and we had just watched, probably Nailed It or something like that.
Yeah.
And we sat down, and I said, look, we all know what's going on this week. There's an elephant in the room. We're going to address the elephant. And, I think we named the elephant Fred or something like that.
It's a good elephant.
And, and then we talked about it, and we said, look, there's going to be, emotions are going to be running high this week. Just because of the nature of what's going on. So let's just, we all need to exercise a little bit more patience with each other. And there was one, I think it was like before dance one night, both my oldest, my youngest, they're like, I have a lot of pain in my belly. And I was like, I feel like that's probably more anxiety than anything else. Cause they were talking about how, they had ice cream like 4 days before. It's like, well, have you gone to the bathroom since then? Have you gone number 2? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, then that's gone. It's not
right.
ice cream from Thursday. And it's Monday.
Yeah.
So they're having some pain in their belly. And then, we had a very frank conversation about everything and about what was happening and how sometimes daddy gets sad and sometimes daddy cries but they're like, well, we've never seen you cry. I'm like, yeah, you probably never will, because I don't do it in front of people. That's a me thing.
Yeah.
And they, after we had that talk, after we had that conversation, how daddy goes and sees a therapist and talks about his problems with her, and we trying to work through things and move forward and just keep on moving. It was almost within 10 minutes, their belly pain was gone. Like they had talked about it. And so my therapist calls it name it to tame it. Hence the Fred the elephant.
Yeah.
We name it so we can talk through it and kind of process it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's trying to model that behavior with the kids. Like, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry at dad, because dad's going to screw up.
Yeah. Again, we're all human, right?
Yeah. I'm a human, I think. Not a robot.
For the most part. Yeah.
I check that box almost on a daily basis. I am not a robot.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. What the does that sound? Is that your computer? All right. You know what?
No, that's my pug.
Oh,
Princess Buttercup sleeping. She's right next to me. She snores.
Oh, it
Apologies.
sounds no. It sounded kind of like a chime. I mean, sure, it didn't sound that way to you, but for some reason over the headphones, I thought it was like a chime. But Mrs. Buttercup sounds like she's got a lovely snore.
All night, every night.
All night. Well, I will say, Brian, first of all, I appreciate you sharing that, because that is deeply personal. That is something that, first of all, not a lot of dads are sitting here talking about this. So I appreciate you taking the time and talking to me about that, especially since it's something that you're dealing with. You know, it's a fresh wound that is open that you're dealing with. So I appreciate you with giving me some insight and giving other dads some insight, and hopefully, you know, helping other dads that may be going through a similar situation. I will say on my end, a lot of the things you're saying are things that like I just haven't necessarily considered. When I hear you say it, I go, well, that totally makes sense. But I haven't either heard that, and I don't mean haven't heard somebody say it. I mean, I haven't heard it, right? I haven't ingested those
Mhm.
words before. But what you're saying sounds like what you're doing is the right thing. It sounds like what you're doing is the best thing for your girls. And you know, I applaud you for doing this single dad thing and doing the best you can at it. I mean, I really do applaud you for it. I mean, it sounds like a tough job, but you definitely sound like the kind of dad that can hack it.
Well, I appreciate that. I will accept the compliment because I have a hard time doing that. But
I don't give
you
many
know,
out. I don't give many
well,
compliments
I don't.
out. So this is, if Steven was
Just
here,
like
I
I
wouldn't
said
be giving him
before.
many.
Oh, good. I don't know Steven, but when I meet Steven, I'll make sure he gets a compliment.
Okay, that's good. At least he'll get
Um,
it from one of us.
just like your beautiful beard.
Oh, thank you.
No, like I said before, I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm doing, but I do know that I do know that my kids, they're for the most part well behaved. I hope that I'm giving them at least, a semblance of what normal looks like.
Mhm.
I hope I'm giving them a space where they feel safe, they feel comfortable, and like I said, from now on, between my ex and I, the only thing that matters, the only thing that we have to move forward with, I have to deal with her the rest of my life, whether I want to or not.
Right. Right.
We have school up until they graduate. Then we have college. Then we have graduation for that. Then we have big life events, boyfriends, marriage, kids, grandkids, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting away from her.
Right.
Ever in my life. So, whereas when I was, in high school or in college, when I would break up with a girl or we would break up, I just would not talk to them again. I don't have that option with my ex. We're going to talk. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, and we have to, because it's the best thing for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to get to a point where we're not talking bad about each other or denigrating each other or just have those hurt feelings of what happened between us. We have to move into that space where it is co-parenting, where we are looking out for the best interests of our kids. So,
yeah.
And like I said, I don't necessarily think I do the greatest job at it, but I'm trying.
You know what? That's all we can do though as dads, right? Because I don't know any dad that can sit there and say like, I know I am the best dad. I know what I've done is the best thing. Every choice I've made is the best. We mess up so much. I mean, I know
all the time,
right? But I'm pretty sure I can safely say, as dads, we mess up all the time, and that's okay. Right. And as long as we can tell ourselves that that's okay. And we keep trying, like you said, with Albert Einstein, right. With his quote, and I'm so shitty.
The only way to keep your balance on a bike is to keep moving forward.
Thank you. I knew it wasn't something about pedaling, but I wanted to say pedaling. That's what I was stuck on. All right. Brian, listen, I want to ask you something, because you have 3 girls, and
I do.
And I got to know, right? Because our household, I have 2 boys with a third coming, but we have 1 girl, and that 1 girl loves Frozen. Okay. Are you a Frozen household? Do you guys watch Frozen 1, Frozen 2? Have you guys experienced this?
Well, I'll just say this. My daughters named their grandmother's dog, and the dog's name is Elsa.
Perfect. I love that. I love it. I was assuming because you had daughters that you were a Frozen household, but now I feel okay with it. I feel totally okay with it. But here's my question. Have you seen both movies? Have you seen Frozen 1 and Frozen 2?
I've only seen the first.
Okay.
The second came out, and my daughters have seen it. I have not.
Okay. We just went to go see it recently. I I really liked it. I like the Frozen movies. I mean, they're entertaining. I love Olaf, right? He's a funny guy.
Olaf is great. Kristoff is hilarious.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. And I honestly,
Yes.
I at this point, I know all the words already, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I sing the Elsa parts at the top of my lungs, and I love it. I love doing it.
Oh,
But
yes.
here's my question for you, because just today I was thinking about this because my daughter was watching Frozen, and my daughter and my youngest one were watching Frozen today during the day. And I'm seeing Elsa when she goes to the castle, when she's the first time she makes her own castle, she's kind of free, right? And I see
Oh, you mean when she let it go?
when she let it go. Yes, when she changed into the
Let it
beautiful new
go?
dress and she let it go. So here's the question.
Can't hold her back anymore.
You cannot hold her back anymore. But here's the question, okay? When Elsa has to go to the bathroom, right? She has a castle that is made of ice. I see Anna walk in and she's slipping around. Elsa seems to have perfectly fine balance. I understand that the cold never bothered her anyway. So yeah, Elsa probably lays down on an ice bed. But does she have an ice toilet? I mean, like, is that when she has to let it go? Is she letting it go on an ice toilet?
You know, I never saw one in the movies itself. So now we're in the conjecture of all of this, and we all know everybody poops. There's a book about this.
Okay.
I owned it for a long time.
Okay.
And if the cold never bothered her anyway, then the cold seat never bothers her at all. So yeah, I think she's sitting down on an ice throne.
Okay. So that makes sense. She's got an ice throne. She's sitting down. She doesn't have cold butt issues, which, by the way, I don't miss about Kansas.
No.
Kansas winters, cold butt was the worst for me. But she may have a cold butt, but it's also icy, right? So is she sitting down thinking
The
she's
question
relaxed?
is, does she have plumbing in that ice castle? Is that what you're asking about?
No, but now you've just opened a new door to my question of Frozen. I wasn't even going to go there, but yeah, no, my thought was actually like, what if, there's sometimes you got to hurry to the bathroom and you run in there, you lift the lid, whatever it is, you sit down. What if she sits down too fast and she slips right off that thing? It's not a matter of it's cold, but what if she slips right off of that?
Well, she doesn't slip on the ice. I mean, we've seen that. The other thing is she could probably turn anything that she's probably turning her dumps or anything that she's putting in that toilet, turning it into ice. So there's no smells. She doesn't need the indoor plumbing.
Uh-huh.
And she probably just ices it until it disintegrates into nothing.
Got it. Okay, ices
it and then taps it with a hammer or something like that, or gets an ice pick. You know what she does? Here's what she does.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the abominable snowman that she created after Olaf, but when she was fighting the people in the first one?
I do.
He's the problem. He's the bitch boy.
Mm.
He's the one that takes out the ice poops.
Okay. All right. I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
She can create life.
Yeah.
She created life.
And she recycles and she's green and she clearly has power over water. So, I mean, yes, she's doing good things for the earth. I like it. I will say I didn't know we were going to quite down this road, but I'm glad we did, because really I feel like this is why I had you on, is this question. I had this question, I needed it answered, and you were the one to answer it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I was not expecting this question, but I appreciate you for asking this question.
You got it.
So,
hey, Brian, thank you for coming on. I very much appreciate it. Hey, it's up to you whether you want to share it or not, but if people want to get a hold of you, if they want to talk to you, if there's anybody out there that may be dealing with their own issues or wants to ask you some questions, because you seem to share a lot of knowledge today, where can they get a hold of you on any social sites like Instagram, Facebook, any of that kind of stuff?
Sure. Facebook is Brian Mesmer. You just search me. Instagram @MesmerSafety and Twitter @MesmerSafety. Try to keep it simple for everybody. And Mesmer is MESMER.
Excellent. Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. This has been quite fun, and we got to do this again, man. When I come back to Kansas, we've got to hang out. I want to do that. It sounds fun.
Yes.
All right.
Whenever you come back to Kansas, hit me up.
Well, when this coronavirus, when it's done, when this thing blows over, I'm gonna get on a plane. I'll come out there.
Yes. I don't know if you saw the statistic. but Corona beer has actually taken a 38% hit on their stock because of coronavirus.
I did.
So we
feel bad.
got to do our part, and everybody needs to start drinking Corona beer again, because Corona beer has no virus. It's a virus that was created in China, and Corona beer is created in Mexico, two separate countries. We got to dispel that and get people back to drinking the Coronas.
That's right. And let's think about it. Corona is basically the Bud Light of Mexican beer, right? Am I wrong there? Am I wrong?
Yeah, you have to have a lime with it. So when I have my coronavirus, I'm going to go for a slice of Lyme's disease.
Sounds good. I want you to enjoy that. I want you to enjoy it. All right.
Absolutely.
Hey, Brian, again,
all right, man.
Thanks for coming on. We're going to wrap this up. Hey, everybody. Hopefully, Stephen will be back next week, and I will be back next week. And again, Brian, thanks, man. And thanks for sticking with us for this episode of It's a Dad Thing podcast. We'll see you later.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.